Okay, so we continue, and today we have verses 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31 of chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita lined up. Let's start with verse number 27. I will chant. Uche Shravasam Ashvanam Vedhi Mamretodbhavam Eravatam Gajendranam Naranam cha Naradhipam. So the verse translates to, of horses, know me as Uche Shravasa, born of nectar, of lordly elephants, Airavat, and of men, the king. So let's take this up word by word. Uche Shravas, some. So Uche Shravas is a proper noun, name of a horse. Ashvanam, amongst the horses. Vidhi, no. Mam, me. Amrito bhavam. So born of nectar, or Amrit we know is nectar. So Amrito bhavan becomes born of nectar. Airavat is again a proper noun, name of an elephant. Gajendranam, so amongst the lordly elephants. Naranam, amongst men. Cha, and Naradhipam, or the king. So the import is, of horses, know me as Uche Shravas, born of nectar, of lordly elephants, Airavat, and of men, the king. So let's chant it all together. Uche Shravasam Ashvanam Vedhi Mamritodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam cha Naradhipam. So this being the chapter of the Yoga of Supreme Manifestation, Krishna has been describing his manifestations, and he continues. So now 3 metaphors come before us in this verse. I will, so one is Uche Shravas of horses and Airavat of elephants. So I'll take these up together because they're related. So we have all heard of the incident of the Samudra Manthan, or the Sagar Manthan, or the Kshir Sagar Manthan, or the churning of the ocean, or the churning of the sea, or the churning of the Milky Ocean. So this is one of the central events that occurs in the ever-continuing struggle between the Devatas and the Asuras. So the good powers and the bad powers. And this finds mention in the Vishnu Purana, the Bhagavad Purana, and the Mahabharata. Okay. Now, what is it? We'll just briefly recap so that we are all on the same page. And the incident is as follows, that Devatas, or the deities, were weakened by sage Durvasa's curse. And consequently, they were then defeated in a battle and by the Asuras, who took control over the universe. So the Devatas, they are quite hassled and they go to Lord Vishnu for help. So now Lord Vishnu advises them that because of the Durvasa Muni's curse, what can actually give you strength is Amrit, or nectar, which resides at the bottom of the celestial ocean of milk, the Kshir Sagar. So that's why it's also called the Kshir Sagar Manthan, right? So this is also referred to as the Milky Way galaxy. So it is only that which can make you strong, also immortal. So now the problem is that you have to bring the nectar to the surface. And for this, you will need to churn the ocean. And also Lord Vishnu says that since you do not have the strength in any case, so it's something that is beyond your capacity, and also everyone should benefit. So it should be a national or a universal program, as opposed, as opposed to a party-specific program. Okay, in the, let's say, in the political context. So everyone has to participate. It has to be a universal or a national program. So both the ruling and the non-ruling parties have to participate. Or in the context of the scripture, both the Devtas and the Asuras have to participate in this churning of the cosmic ocean. Vishnu also told them that as the churning takes place, many magnificent things will come out. But no one should keep it for themselves, and immediately they must be gifted away. And the churning must continue till the time Amrit comes out, which is the last item that will come out. So this was the story behind the churning of the ocean. Now, for the actual churning, Manthara mountain was used as the churning rod. And Vasuki, the king of serpents, offered to become the churning rope, and because the mountain in the sea, so look at the strength of the king of serpents. And Manthara mountain was steadied at the bottom of the ocean by Vishnu himself in his form, as in his Kurma form or the tortoise form. So in that avatar, Vishnu was the base on which Manthara mountain rested, and Vasuki was the churning rope. And on one side were the Daityas or Asuras, and on the other side were the Devtas. Now, in the Samudra Manthan, as most of you would have read the story and you would be familiar, many treasures were brought up from the depths. And some of these have become the epitome of their worldly counterparts. And amongst them was the celestial winged horse, Uchche Shravas, which is mentioned in this verse, the four-tusked white elephant Airavat, which was given to Indra and became Indra's mount, Kamadhenu, the cow of plenty, and also the Kalp Vriksh, the wish-fulfilling tree. So these are some of the things. You can read the story or the incident and find out what other things came out. Now the story has it that when Amrit appeared, the gods and Asuras fought over its possession. And though originally, according to the commitment given to Vishnu, it was to be shared equally, but after many adventures, it was finally consumed by the gods, who were thus restored in strength. Right? So this is the complete incident. In brief, you can read it up. It's very interesting, actually. Now, the implied meaning here, how should we interpret it as? The incident is actually relating to our self-unfoldment. The pure white milk is representing the Sattvic mind, the pure thoughts. These pure thoughts must be churned by reflection. We must continuously keep reflecting. And as we are churning our mind and our thoughts, many powers or siddhis will come to us. Powers like being able to look into the future, do face reading, manifesting something out of nothing. All these powers will come our way. However, we must not get caught in them and continue with the churning or continue with the reflections. And as we continue the churning of our thoughts, the mind and the intellect will become quieter and quieter, and greater powers will emerge. Faculties that we are not aware we actually have, which do not manifest. However, when they manifest, we must not identify with them. So just like Vishnu had said that you must give them away, we should just give them away. We should surrender them to God. Because the moment we identify with something, we will become attached and we will start stagnating. We will not move forward. We will stop the churning. So we should immediately surrender them. And we must keep churning our thoughts till we reach our essence. And in the verse, Krishna is identifying with the celestial horse, Uchcheshravas, and the four-tusked elephant, Airavat. The third simile that he is bringing up is king among men. Now we come to the familiar turf of humanity. Amongst the humans, the leader or the sovereign, head or the president, the prime minister, emperor, king, is the protector, maintainer, controller, and governor of his state, nation, kingdom. The sovereign head has all the might and glory and is the most important person who shows the direction to the general public. His governance must be marked by dharma or righteousness. And then everything takes place under the leader's orders. So Krishna now identifies himself with the best amongst men, which is the king or the sovereign. So that was verse number 27. Moving on to verse number 28. Ayudhanamaham vajram Dhenunāmasmi kāmadhu Prajansasmi kandarpa Sarpānamasmi vāsuki. So the 28th verse translates to, of weapons, I am Vajra, the thunderbolt. Of cows, I'm Kamadhuk. And I'm Kandar, the progenitor. Of serpents, I am Vasuki. Let's take this up word by word.
This or that.
Ayudhanam, amongst the weapons. Aham, I am Vajra. Just give me a moment. Dhenunam, amongst the cows, Asmi, I am, Kamadhuk, proper noun, Prajanaha, progenitor, Cha and Asmi, I am, Kandarp, proper noun, Sarpanam, amongst the serpents, Asmi, I am, Vasuki, proper noun. So this is what the verse translates to. Of weapons, I'm Vajra, the thunderbolt. Of cows, I'm Kamadhuk. And I'm Kandarp, progenitor. Of serpents, I am Vasuki. So let's chant it together. Ayudhanamaham vajram Dhenunāmasmi kāmadhu Prajanaschasmi kandarpaha Sarpānamasmi vāsuki. So now 4 more metaphors are being presented before us. Of weapons, I'm Vajra. Now Vajra or the thunderbolt is Indra's weapon. And in the Indian tradition, amongst the weapons of destruction, Vajra is considered the most powerful of all weapons. And for its design, the bones of a great sage were required. So great sage Dadichi offered himself for this. And so Vajra is actually designed out of Dadichi's ribs. The import of this is that the sage's entire tapas has actually gone into the making of Vajra, which makes it so powerful. The weapon is said to have divine properties. So not only, so when it's thrown, it causes destruction and returns, washes itself in the ocean, and then comes back to the owner. So amongst the weapons available, Krishna, the greatest, identifies with the greatest and the most powerful of them all, the Vajra. Of cows, I'm Kamadhuk. Kamaduk is another name for Kamadhenu. And as I just mentioned with the previous verse, Kamadhenu or the celestial cow or the cow of desire was one of the products of the Samudra Manthan or the churning of the Milky Ocean. Now, Kamdhenu possesses the capacity of fulfilling all desires of humans and gods. Then we come to Kandarp, the progenitor. Kandarp is also called Kamadev, or the god of love and the god of procreation. So the act of procreation is considered the most sensuous of all sensual acts, because all the five senses, as well as the mind and the intellect. So Krishna is identifying himself with the king of pleasures and calls himself Kandarp or Kamadev. The last one is of serpents. I am Vasuki. So Vasuki is the king of single-headed serpents and is described as having a gem in its hood or the Nagamani. And Vasuki is a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And so Shiva wears Vasuki around his neck. Vasuki also was the churning rope in the Samudra Manthan. So Krishna, as his Vibhuti amongst serpents, describes himself as Vasuki. Please remember that Krishna, in all these verses, Krishna is describing himself as the best in the relative zone. So, amongst the serpents, he is Vasuki. Among the Vedas, he is the Samaved. Amongst the sensual pleasures, he is Kamadev. Amongst the cows, he is Kamdhenu. Amongst the elephants, he is Airavat. The best of that category is how he is presenting himself. It's not that he is not there in the rest of the things. Otherwise, we all know that is omniscient, omnipresent. Brahman, the pure consciousness, is present everywhere. But in reply to Arjun's question, he is identifying the salient manifestations of his, so that when anyone contemplates, they can pick up whatever manifestation appeals to them and takes them closer to Brahman. So we have to read these verses in that context. And not say that, okay, he's there only in Vasuki and not in the other serpents. Actually, pure consciousness is there everywhere. Having said that, let's move on to verse number 29. Anantaschasmi naganam varuno yadasamaham Petranamarya yamasayam tamaham. So the verse translates to, I am Anant of Nagas, I am Varun of water beings, and of forefathers, I am Aryama, I am Yam of controllers. So let's take this up word by word. Anant, proper noun. Cha and Asmi, I am, Naganam, amongst the Nagas. Varun, proper noun. Yadasam, of water beings. Aham, I. Pitranam, amongst the ancestors or the forefathers. Aryama, proper noun. Cha and Asmi, I am, Yama, Lord Yam, the god of death. Sayam Tam, of the controllers who exercise Sayam, control us. Aham, I. So, and I am Anant of Nagas, I am Varun of water beings, and of forefathers, I am Aryama, I am Young of the controllers. So let's chant this together. Anantaschasmi naganam varuno yad samaham Petranamaryamachasmi yamasayam tamaham. Krishna continues with the manifestations, and 4 more come our way. What are these? Anant of Nagas. Now, Nagas are the class of snakes with many heads. See, Vasuki was the king of snakes, which had a single hood. Now we are talking of the Nags, which have multiple hoods. So Anant is another name for the Sheshnag, who is considered the king of Nagas or the king of multi-headed serpents. Sheshnag has 1,000 heads. And you would have seen that Lord Vishnu is actually depicted lying on the coiled body of the Sheshnag in the ocean of milk. This depiction, many of you would have seen, and it forms a theme for a lot of our paintings, artworks. What is the implied meaning here? The Naga is representing our mind. So just as the Sheshnag has 1,000 heads, our mind has the capacity of 1,000 thoughts simultaneously. And all these thoughts continuously chatter and occupy our mind and intellect. Our intellect should be able to control them. So that is symbolizing Vishnu, who is lying calmly on the Sheshnag. Lying where? In the ocean, the Milky Ocean, or the ocean of sattvic thoughts. So this is the implied meaning. We can interpret it like this and then think of the Sheshnag and the depiction of the Sheshnag. So amongst the multi-hooded snakes, Krishna's Vibhuti is the Sheshnag or Anant. Varun or water beings, Varun is the lord of seas and he presides over all the water life. So amongst the water beings, I am Varun. Of 4 fathers, I am Aryama. Now, Aryama is the 3rd son of Aditi, and goddess Aditi we had referred in the 11th verse of this chapter when we were talking about Vibhutis. I mean, so goddess Aditi was referred to at that point of time. And Aryama is worshipped as the head of the departed ancestors. The last one, I'm Yam of controller. See, Yamaraj, in the Indian tradition, is worshipped. The god of death is worshipped. So Yamaraj is the god of death and justice. Yamaraj arranges for the soul to be taken at the time of death from the mortal frame or from the body. And Yamaraj also dispenses law and grants punishment for evil deeds and rewards for the good deeds on God's behalf. So from that point of view, Yamaraj is the greatest of all rulers, governors, and controllers. So amongst them, amongst the controllers, Krishna is identifying with Lord Yam or Yamaraj, Lord of Death. Moving on to verse number 30. I will chant. Prahaladaschasmi Daityanam Kala Kalayatamaham Mriganam cha Mrigendroham Venateyascha Pakshinam. I am Prahlad of Daityas. I am time of reckoners or calculations. And of beasts, I am Mrigen. And Venatye of the birds. Let's take this up word by word. Prahlad, proper noun, we have all heard stories about him, read about him in the scriptures. Cha and Asmi, I am. Daityana, amongst the Daityas. Kal is time. Kalaya tam, amongst the reckoners, amongst the calculations. Aham, I. Mragana, of the beasts. Cha and Mrigendra, or the lion. Aham, I. Venatye, proper noun, which is also known as Garud, Cha, and Pakshinam of birds. So I am Prahlad of Daityas, I am time of reckoners, and of beasts I am Mrigendra, and Venatye of birds. So let's chant it together. Prahladaschasmi Daityanam Kalakalaytamaham Mriganam cha Mrigendroham Venateyascha Pakshinam. 4 more metaphors are presented before us, and Krishna says, I am Prahlad of the Daityas. We are all aware of the great child devotee Prahlad. Now, Prahlad was born the son of the powerful demon king Hiranyakashyap. And Hiranyakashyap denied the very existence of God. And he was a very powerful king because of the boon that was given to him. And because of this power, he had conquered the entire world. But he failed when he came to deal with his own child. Prahlad aspired and gained the highest spiritual evolution, even though he belonged to the ruling class now. You know, he was the son of the demon king. And also the child was born in the demonical race, yet he attained divinity and perfection. Prahlad is considered one of the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu. Krishna himself is considered an avatar of Vishnu, and he identifies with Prahlad as one of his salient manifestations. The next one is Kal, or time of reckoners. So now Krishna is taking the system of calculations. See, Krishna, as we had mentioned in the start of the, when we started the chapter, that he's presenting an analytical depiction of his supreme manifestation. So now he's taking the system of calculation. So there are many various systems that we have today, the metric system, the imperial system, etc. The most accurate system, however, is that of time. Everything and everyone in this universe is under the influence of time and cannot escape its impact. So time embodies all actions and brings forth their effects inevitably. And this is essentially the law of karma that we had covered in chapters 3, 4, and 5. So that is one aspect. Time is also the basis of quantitative calculations like seconds, hours, days, months, weeks, years, centuries, so on. You know, also it is an indicator of qualitative time. So you have good times or bad times, long times or a jiffy time, short time. And time can also stretch to infinity, like times immemorial, everlasting time, infinite time. So amongst the reckoners, time is the essential reckoner. So amongst the counting systems, Krishna's Vibhuti is Kal, or time. The third one is, of beasts, I am the lion. So we all know that lion is the king of the jungle. He is the strongest and the most powerful amongst all the beasts. In fact, the lion is so magnificent and graceful, even when it is in a cage, that, you know, when you go to a zoo, you are impressed by the lion. In the jungle, in the wild, his roar subdues animals that are even larger than him. Also, the other characteristic that is significant is that he moves alone in the jungle, unlike other beasts that move in herds. So lion actually signifies supremacy, and self-sufficiency. So Krishna counts the lion amongst his vibhutis. I am Venate of the birds. So Venate we know, is Garud, is a name for Garud, which is a divine eagle-like bird. Now, an eagle, like the lion, is powerful and swift. And just as the lion moves alone in the jungle, the eagle soars alone in the skies, unlike other birds that fly in flocks. Coming to Garud specifically, Garud is the son of sage Kashyap and Vinata, and hence the name Venate. Garud is considered the king of birds, and Garud is also the mount of Lord Vishnu. And Garud is generally portrayed as a protector that is ever vigilant and has the power of traveling swiftly anywhere. So Krishna is identifying with Garud amongst the birds. The import of these verses, or this verse, is that whenever we see someone succeed despite their weakness, because you see, Prahlad was a child, 6 or 7 years of age, and he succeeded against his father, his powerful father. So that is the lesson for us, that whenever we see someone succeeding in spite of their weakness, when we observe the passage of time, whenever we see animals or birds, we should remember them as manifestations of that supreme Brahman. Moving on to verse number 31, the last verse for the day. Pavana pavatamasmi Ram Shastra Bhratamaham Jhashanamakaraschasmi Shruta Samasmi Jahanvi. Translated, the verse reads, I am the wind of the purifiers. I am Ram of the warriors, and of fishes, I am the crocodile. Of rivers, I am Jahanvi or Ganga. Let's take this up word by word. Pavan is wind, gentle breeze. Pavatam, of purifiers. Asmi, I am. Ram, Lord Ram. Shastra Bhratam, of warriors, of people who hold weapons. So, warriors. Aham, I. Jhashanam, of fishes. Makara is crocodile. We can also interpret it as the shark. So, both work. Cha and Asmi, I am. Shrotasam, amongst the rivers, which have a origin, which originate from the mountain or from somewhere, Asmi, I am. Jahanvi, a name for Ganga. So let's chant it together. Pavana pavatamasmi Rama Shastra Bhratamaham Jhashanamakaraschasmi Shruta Samasmi Jahanvi. I am wind of the purifiers. Krishna now begins with the topic of purification or environment protection. What he says is that the soft breeze is the foremost expression of God amongst all the purifiers in the world. And we know this from experience. The pranayam that we do in the set of physical exercises that for marketing purposes is called yoga now. So the pranayam, which is the deep inhalation and exhalation, removes several toxins from our body because we take in fresh air and we take out the non-fresh air from our body. Also, when you enter a room that has been locked in for a long time, what is the first thing you do? Open out all the doors and the windows and let the fresh air come in. Because a well-ventilated room with free flow of fresh air is invigorating. It, it gives you energy. Even a wound that is exposed to fresh air heals faster. So wind in our scriptures is considered the greatest of all purifiers. So amongst the purifiers, Krishna is identifying himself with the air. Rama of warriors. So amongst all the people, the great warriors who wielded weapons in the world, Lord Ram is the foremost. This is because he was adept at wielding different types of weapons. However, he did not use them unless it was absolutely required. And when you read the Ramayana, you read of numerous instances where he killed the Rakshasas and demons after they had not heeded his warning. So you see, unlike the normal tendency of a powerful person is that, immediately you'll start using your power. And we see it happening all around us to intimidate the weaker people. So he did not have this kind of a tendency. And we have a lot of epithets or sayings which are there before us. Power corrupts and supreme power leads to supreme corruption. On the other side, we have the ones with great power comes great responsibility, which is what actually Ram did. Lord Ram used weapons as the last resort when no other method of diplomacy worked. And Lord Ram also personifies the characteristics of an ideal person or is a person of perfection. He is considered the best upholder of righteousness or dharma. No other character in our scriptures reveals such idealistic, perfection in all aspects of life. Therefore, he is also known as Maryada Purushottam. Maryada is limit, Purush is person or a human being, Uttam is the best. So he worked best and remained within the Maryada, within the limits that are imposed by Dharma. A true warrior, he used his powers to eradicate injustice and to establish righteousness or justice. So Krishna is identifying with him. Of fish, I'm the crocodile. So Makar refers to either a crocodile or a shark, as I just mentioned. And both of them are powerful sea creatures. And just as we see the majesty in the lion, we see the power and the majesty in the crocodile or shark in the sea. Now we come to I am Jahanvi of the rivers. So now, brief thing to our Puranas. So Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas narrate how Ganga or Jahanvi descended from heavens to the earth. See, Ganga was actually in the heavens and she was personified as a goddess that had the name Akash Ganga. Now, why she was brought down to earth was because King Bhagirath of the Ikshvaku dynasty, which is also Ram's dynasty. So, King Bhagirath was actually an ancestor of Ram. So, Bhagirath's ancestors were turned into ashes by the curse of Kapil Muni as they had disturbed his meditation. Now, Kapil Muni was also presented as one of the vibhutis in the previous verses. So I'm just trying to link all these together, how the flow is. So because Kapil Muni's meditation was disturbed by Bhagirath's ancestors, the sage cursed them and turned them into ashes. However, he also gave an antidote to his curse that if the ashes of the ancestors were immersed in Ganga, their souls would attain liberation or moksha. So King Bhagirath took a penance to bring Akash Ganga or Goddess Ganga or Jahanvi from heavens upon the earth. But because her turbulent force would shatter the earth, Bhagirath persuaded Lord Shiv to receive Ganga. Lord Shiv stays in the Himalayas, right? Mount Kailash. So Bhagirath, King Bhagirath, or Sage Bhagirath, as he had become by then, requested Lord Shiv to receive Gangaji in his hairlock, where her force would become, would be weakened, and then let it flow out into the, to flow down, onto earth. So Ganga descended in Shiva's lock, her flow was reduced, and then, it flowed down the Himalayas, Haridwar, Prayagraj, etc., into the Bay of Bengal. Now, the implied meaning here is Ganga signifies Brahman, who remains above terrestrial experiences. And King Bhagirath represents an enlightened soul that who has the capacity to invoke spiritual knowledge. Lord Shiv is representing a tapasvi, an introvert, an austere contemplating person who can receive the knowledge and then impart that knowledge gradually to the general masses who cannot take that whole knowledge all at once. So this is what the implied meaning can be understood. I mean, we can take it as this to help us identify with this whole incident. And even today, we all know that Ganga is the holiest of all the rivers. It's worshipped because it symbolizes Brahman and a deep, we have deep spiritual connect. Indians especially have a deep spiritual connect with Ganga. A dip in this sacred river symbolizes devotees' union with Brahman. And therefore, amongst the rivers, Krishna is identifying with Jahanvi or Ganga. So with that, we conclude today's session.